The message came just as I was about to close a $210 million deal. Not congratulations, not even a good luck. It was from my mother. Madison, Bryce is bringing Alexandra home for Christmas. We think it's best if you sit this one out. Hope you understand. Understand? I was 39, CEO of a global strategy firm, and still, not good enough to be invited to dinner. While my brother brought home a pretty TV anchor, I was told to stay invisible, for the sake of appearances. What they didn't know, the company they were courting to save their legacy, was mine, and they were about to walk into my office, not to welcome me, but to beg for my signature. New York City, 48 floors above the noise and flashing lights, Madison Quinn stood at the edge of her glass office, fingers lightly grazing the edge of her polished oak desk. The skyline burned gold in the winter dusk, but the warmth didn't reach her. Her phone buzzed once, just once, a message. Madison, sweetheart. About Christmas this year. Bryce is bringing Alexandra, and since she's on national television, we think it might be best if you sit this one out. Hope you understand. Love, Mom. The words blurred as they sank in. Madison blinked twice, her heart catching somewhere between disbelief and the same dull ache she'd known for years. Not again. Outside her office, the Sterling and Vale boardroom buzzed with anticipation. Executives waited for her to sign off on a $210 million strategic acquisition, a deal she had architected from scratch, a deal that would cement her firm as the silent giant behind three of the most influential conglomerates in the Midwest. And yet, in her family's eyes, she still didn't belong. She let the phone slide from her hand, landing silently on the desk. Her eyes remained fixed on the screen. The message. Those 16 words that pierced deeper than any boardroom betrayal. They didn't just sting, they erased her. For a moment, Madison was 23 again, standing at the gravel driveway of the Quinn family farm in Vermont. Her suitcase barely zipped, her mother in tears, her father yelling about loyalty and family name, her brother Bryce, perfect, polished, always the heir, standing behind him with crossed arms and that condescending grin. "You'll be back within a year," he had said. "No one builds empires alone." Except she did. She built Sterling and Vale from a one-bedroom apartment with a thrift store desk and a used laptop. No favors, no inheritance, just sleepless nights, silent rejections, and a vision no one believed in but her. And now, that empire reached across 3 continents, managing the strategic backbone of clients worth billions. But her family didn't know that, didn't want to know that. To them, she was still the difficult daughter, the one who left, the one who didn't come home. Her assistant, Priya, peeked into the office. "They're ready for you, Madison." Madison didn't move. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the desk. Then slowly she reached for the pen beside her. A custom silver Mont Blanc. She'd signed 100 deals with that pen, but not this one. "Have the Mirage documents couriered. I'll sign them in the morning," she said. Her voice was calm, steady, the kind of stillness that comes before a storm. Priya paused. "Anything else?" Madison looked at the phone, still glowing, still there. "Yes." She turned, straightened her jacket. "Find me everything we have on Quinn & Sons Capital." Priya blinked. "Your family's firm?" Madison's eyes sharpened. "I want every asset, every holding, every whisper, and find out who they're courting for their international expansion." Understood. Madison picked up her phone and finally turned it face down. They didn't want her at their table. Fine. She was going to show them what it looked like to build her own. And this time, they wouldn't just be missing her at Christmas. They'd be watching her from below. 3 days later, the office lights burned past midnight. The city outside her windows shimmered under a blanket of frost, but inside Sterling and Vale, Madison was wide awake, not out of restlessness, out of purpose. Across her desk lay a color-coded folder, the Quinn & Sons Capital file. Years of financial statements, analyst whispers, expansion plans, and, most importantly, rumors of a pending partnership with a mysterious strategic firm. Madison leaned back, her fingers steepled. Sterling and Vale. They were courting her firm. The irony made her laugh, soft, dry, the kind of laugh that tasted like salt and steel. Her family, who hadn't returned a congratulatory call in over a decade, was unknowingly begging for her help. "Priya," she called. Her assistant stepped in, tablet in hand. "Their lead negotiator has been emailing our business dev team under a third-party name. They want a meeting, tomorrow." "Set it up, and reply as if I'm just the chairwoman, not the CEO. I want anonymity maintained." "Understood. Should I pull the full Mirage files too?" Madison nodded. "We'll close Mirage quietly, but I want Quinn & Sons to think they still have a shot, until I say otherwise." Priya hesitated. "If I may ask, why not just say no now? Why let them close in?" Madison paused, gaze hardening as she turned back to the window. Because I want them to walk through the doors of this firm thinking they're about to save themselves. And then I want them to realize who they've been trying to impress. She turned slowly. They're going to look me in the eye, and this time they'll see exactly who they turned away. The next morning, the Sterling & Vale negotiation suite was staged with flawless precision. Legal teams, equity consultants, corporate strategists, all ready to meet Quinn & Sons representatives. Madison observed from behind a frosted glass wall. There was her father, still carrying himself like a lion, Bryce by his side, handsome and oblivious, and Alexandra, the fiancée with the gleaming teeth and news anchor confidence. Madison didn't flinch. This wasn't a confrontation. It was a setup, and they were walking right into it. Let the curtain rise. The morning of the signing arrived with crisp sunlight bouncing off the glass skyscrapers of Manhattan. Madison was already in her private suite on the 48th floor by 6 a.m., watching the skyline unfold beneath her like a kingdom she ruled quietly but thoroughly. The conference room shimmered with detail, fresh orchids on the table, sterling silver trays, the boardroom chairs arranged in perfect alignment. The air itself seemed to hum with anticipation. "Your family just arrived," Priya whispered as she entered, calm as ever. "Should I bring them up?" Madison adjusted her jacket, a deep charcoal suit, precisely tailored. Her heels clicked softly on the stone floor. Her grandmother's vintage Cartier watch rested at her wrist, a quiet reminder of the only one who had ever truly believed in her. "No," Madison replied, "let them wait." She took the private elevator down 20 minutes later. Her phone buzzed again, another message from her mother. "Your father says this deal is critical. Don't embarrass us, Madison." She slipped the phone away without replying. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, she could already see them, her father pacing, her mother adjusting Bryce's tie, Alexandra sipping from a flute of champagne with rehearsed elegance. The senior board sat at the far end, flipping through contracts they didn't know Madison had rewritten the night before. Madison nodded toward Priya, and Priya opened the door. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced clearly, "please welcome Miss Madison Quinn, CEO of Sterling & Vale." Silence. The kind of silence that has weight. As Madison stepped inside, the room froze. Her heels echoed like thunder across the walnut floors. Her mother's flute slipped, shattered. Her father's face drained of color. Bryce stared in complete, breathless shock. "Good morning," Madison said calmly. "Shall we begin?" Her father stammered, This is absurd. You're a freelance consultant." Madison opened a black leather folder and flipped through the pages. "According to these documents," she said, voice cool as steel, "I'm the CEO of the firm you've been courting for the past 6 months." From the head of the boardroom table, one of the senior partners leaned in, visibly intrigued. Madison turned to Alexandra. "I would have loved to introduce myself at Christmas dinner, but I wasn't invited." No one breathed. Her mother began to speak, but Madison raised a hand. "Let's save time. Here's your message asking me to sit out Christmas. Here's Bryce's email implying my career isn't real. And here," she tapped a button. A projection screen lit up with an email chain. "Here's Dad," she continued, "pleading for a strategic partnership, all while having no idea he was negotiating with his invisible daughter." A stunned silence. Priya moved around the table, sliding updated contracts in front of every executive. Madison's father flipped through his in panic. "These aren't the same terms," he snapped. "They're not," Madison agreed. "I've made revisions." Her voice hardened. "I've had time, years actually, to decide how this moment would go." Then she sat. Straight-backed, steady. "Let's proceed, shall we?" The weight of her final words lingered in the room like smoke. "I've had time, years actually, to decide how this moment would go." Her father opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Madison didn't wait. She turned to the board. "Before we move forward, please turn to page 6 of the updated terms. You'll see revised clauses on equity distribution, governance rights, and expansion territory limitations." Bryce glanced down at the page, his brow furrowing. "This gives Sterling & Vale majority decision power." "That's correct," Madison said. "If Quinn & Sons wants international exposure through our channels, we'll retain control over the direction. That's the only way I can ensure quality alignment." Her father leaned in, voice cracking. "Madison, you're effectively absorbing us. That's not a partnership." She turned her eyes to him. "Neither was your treatment of me," she said. "This deal reflects reality, not sentiment." Her mother tried to chime in. "We were protecting you." "No," Madison cut in sharply. "You were protecting your image, your narrative, not your daughter." She stood then, and her voice was clear, resonant, unshakable. "I launched a company with nothing. You mocked it, ignored it, never once asked how I was doing, never sent a message, never offered help. But now that I hold the key to saving the company you built for your son, suddenly I matter." The boardroom was so quiet, the hum of the HVAC system sounded like thunder. Madison turned toward the window, the skyline glittering behind her. I've watched you build your empire on appearances. I built mine on results. Her father stood up, shoulders trembling. You can't do this. We have plans, investors, projections. This merger was going to be our rebirth. Madison turned slowly. And where was your belief when I needed mine? Where were you when I was working through the night, when I was pitching to silent rooms, when I was surviving off instant noodles in a studio apartment? Bryce stepped forward, but Madison raised a hand. Don't, she said. You were the one who told me I'd come crawling back, and now here we are. She walked back to her seat and placed her hands on the table. This partnership, she said firmly, is off. Gasps rippled through the room. Even the senior board members leaned in. Madison continued, Sterling and Vail will be acquiring Mirage directly, and by doing so we will close your path to the European market. Her father paled. You're cutting us off! I'm making a business decision, she replied. He slumped back into his seat, the reality crashing down. Without access to that expansion, Quinn & Sons would remain stagnant, just another aging regional firm trying to stay relevant. We're family, he murmured. Madison paused at the doorway. Funny, she said, because yesterday I was told I wasn't good enough to be invited to dinner. Her eyes met his, and for the first time he looked away. I wonder, she added, will I be good enough for Christmas next year? She didn't wait for an answer. The sound of her heels echoed once again, and behind her the room sat in the kind of silence that only comes when illusions are shattered. The fallout came fast. Business press had a field day. Quinn & Sons merger collapses. Mirage acquired by rival firm. Sterling and Vail's silent takeover leaves legacy firm exposed. Madison read the headlines without flinching. She had no interest in watching them burn, but she wasn't going to rescue the fire they had set themselves. Calls poured in. Bryce left 3 voicemails. Her mother sent a series of texts that pinged with increasing desperation. We're still your family, please, let's talk. You're ruining everything. This isn't how families solve problems. Just us, face to face, please. Madison never responded. Then, on a gray Thursday afternoon, Priya knocked gently on her door. Your brother's here, again. Madison looked up from her desk, where she was reviewing a proposal to acquire a boutique consultancy in Dallas. Alone? Priya nodded. No cameras, no bravado this time. Madison hesitated, then, send him in. Bryce entered quietly. No suit this time, just a tired man in a crumpled shirt and worn-down pride. He looked around her office like he was seeing it for the first time. The expansive view, the awards on the shelf, the photos of global conferences, her team, her vision made tangible. It's bigger than mine, he murmured. Madison leaned back in her chair. Didn't realize we were still comparing. He didn't flinch. Alexandra called off the engagement. Her eyebrow lifted. Couldn't handle the headlines? He gave a hollow laugh. She said I no longer fit her image. The irony's not lost on me. Silence settled. Dad's drinking again, he added. The board is in full panic mode. Mom can't show her face at the club. And you? He looked at her, regretful. Madison didn't soften. You all treated success like it had one look, one voice, yours, and I never fit it. I deserve that, he admitted. You deserved more. Madison stood, walked toward the window. Do you know what it felt like watching you all toast each other while pretending I didn't exist? He didn't answer. You never asked, not once, not about my work, my team, my vision. You assumed I was floundering. You wanted me to be. His silence was heavy. I was awful to you, he finally said. Can you ever forgive me? She turned to face him. Forgiveness isn't the issue, she said. Trust is. And that's something you'll have to earn. Just then, the door burst open. Her parents walked in, ignoring Priya's attempt to stop them. Madison didn't flinch. Madison, her father began. The thunder in his voice was gone. This has gone too far. Oh? She said calmly. And what would too far be to a man who erased his own daughter from a dinner table? Her mother rushed forward. We see you now. You've proven yourself. Please stop punishing us. Madison laughed, bitter and quiet. You think this was about revenge? No, this was about consequences, about drawing a line, and now you're on the other side of it. Her father's voice cracked. Everything we did was to protect you. No, she said firmly. Everything you did was to protect your reputation, not me. Her mother's tears began to fall. Madison didn't move. Please, her mother whispered. It's almost Christmas. Madison stared at her. The Christmas I wasn't welcome at. The one where you said I'd embarrass you. We can fix this, her father said. Tell us what you want. A board seat, public apology, name it. You still don't get it, she said, voice soft but razor sharp. I don't want what you have. I never did. Sterling and Vail is worth 10 times what Quinn & Sons ever was. She stepped closer. What I wanted was belief, respect. A family who saw me for who I am, not who they wished I'd be. She pressed the intercom. Priya, please escort them out and update the security list. As the door closed behind them, Madison stood alone in the silence. Then her phone buzzed. From Aunt Lucy. Heard what happened. Your grandmother would be proud. Christmas dinner's at mine this year. A small smile curled on Madison's lips. Some tables, she realized, were worth showing up to, and some weren't worth ever returning to again. Snow fell softly on the city, blanketing New York in that rare kind of hush only Christmas Eve brings. From the 48th floor of Sterling and Vale, the skyline shimmered like a quiet constellation, elegant, still, and entirely hers. Madison stood by the window, her reflection blending into the lights outside. No noise, no begging messages, no tension wrapped in ribboned expectations, just silence. Peaceful, earned silence. On the corner of her desk sat a small, wrapped box. She opened it slowly. Inside was her grandmother's worn leather business card holder and a handwritten note from Aunt Lucy. She always said you'd outshine them all. Looks like she was right. Proud doesn't begin to cover it. Madison ran her thumb along the stitching of the card holder, the same one her grandmother used when she built her own catering company from a farmhouse kitchen. She remembered her whispering once, "Build something they can't take from you." That's what this was. Not revenge. A reclaiming. Later that evening, Madison stepped into a cozy brownstone in Brooklyn, Aunt Lucy's home. The smell of cinnamon, roasted root vegetables, and real warmth filled the air. No grand speeches, no polished smiles, just laughter, clinking glasses, and stories with soft edges. When she walked in, Lucy didn't say a word. She just opened her arms, and Madison, CEO, strategist, survivor, folded into them. "Welcome home," Lucy whispered. Dinner was loud in the right places. A toddler spilled juice. Someone burned the rolls. Madison helped carve the ham and poured wine into mismatched glasses. There were no photographers, no family name to defend, no image to preserve. And for the first time in years, Madison laughed without calculating the room. She was no longer the girl desperate to belong. She didn't need their seat at the table, because she had built her own, and tonight she chose where to sit. The next morning, as the city woke slowly under the quiet hum of holiday stillness, Madison gathered her executive team. They were launching the boldest initiative in company history, a tri-firm acquisition that would restructure the consulting landscape in the Midwest. Quinn & Sons wasn't part of it. They never would be again. Within 6 months, as her sources confirmed, her father would be quietly voted out. The legacy he tried to preserve through control would end not with applause, but with a whimper. But Madison didn't smile at that. She didn't need to. She was already living what they never gave her: autonomy, dignity, peace. Weeks later, when a colleague asked her gently, "Do you ever miss your family?" she turned back to her desk, where her grandmother's card holder sat beside her sleek nameplate. "I have a company to run," she replied, then almost to herself, "and a life to live." Because that, finally, was worth more than any invitation to a table that once erased her. And in reclaiming her Christmas, Madison reclaimed something far greater. Herself. They told her she wasn't enough, that she was too different, too ambitious, too much. But here's the truth they never expected to learn. She didn't need their seat at the table. She built her own. And one day, they found themselves begging for a place at hers. So if you've ever been left out, overlooked, or told you didn't belong, this story is for you. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove that you were right to believe in yourself all along. And if this story spoke to something in you, leave a comment. Tell us what you've reclaimed, or simply say, "I see you." Because sometimes that's all it takes to remind someone they're not alone. And if you're building your own table brick by brick, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. This is Sweet Revenge, Happy Ending, where power doesn't scream, it arrives quietly, and never asks permission.